Mark.
All right, stand by. Contact left! Left punch! Yeah, that would be a good one there, Hot Rod. Next time to tell us. You guys ready?
Ready.
All right, stand by.
What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. With me, yet again, I have
some guy named Josh.
Yep, and that's actually his little internet handle. Okay, it's like one, but fuck it. I've been waiting on him to put up like 3 or 5 or whatever, but he has one video up right now. He's actually diving into this whole thing. I have absolutely no idea why, but he decided that he was going to do a bunch of his own thing too, which is great. You guys have seen plenty of his work through my channel and stuff. He's put together a lot of the last few, like little montages for bigger reviews that I've done and that kind of stuff, like rifles and pistols and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a review up right now. It's a time lapse of you putting together 7 and 6 crates.
Yeah, table. I got a bunch of 7 and 6 ammo, the crates, the wooden crates, like $5 a piece. I was like, I'm gonna make a fucking table out of these because I do woodworking for fun, like just build all kinds of cool stuff, and it came out pretty cool. And I ended up like putting all my video game controllers in it because I had nowhere to put them all.
Yep.
I've got 13 consoles. No, I don't play, so don't ask me a bunch of questions. I've had them forever.
Got a bunch of the old stuff,
Yeah.
like his N64 sitting at my house, for instance.
Yeah, because like when we gets down on Mario Kart 64.
Oh my god, that's how you test friendships.
Yeah,
So.
But I'm always a winner, so I always win. Like I don't really lose.
Yeah, well, you're putting an Asian into a driving game, so I'm fucked.
Yeah, he beat me once.
Just like forever salty about the fucking red shells, just forever just mad, you know. But okay, so here's the review, right? We went to the Costa Vet class, or the Vehicle Elements Theory class, and this is a 1,000 round rifle and pistol class. Mm-hmm. Now, that comes with an asterisk already, because this could, I mean, if a dude showed up with a shotgun, there you go. It could have been a shotgun class. It could have been a rifle only class. Although there were some sections where he's seen guys had a mix, or there was like a couple of guys that only showed up with a pistol. So it's like, all right, this is a pistols only portion.
Yep, the guy we adopted.
Roll through that, yeah, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But it's flexible, and you can see it on the website and that kind of stuff. So also, I'll put an additional little asterisk next to that too, because it's like, if you're volume heavy on a lot of the shooting that you do and that kind of stuff, to avoid rationing, I would bring more.
Yeah, a little more.
Yeah, because about half of the day, on the third day, it was like it was. We'll talk about it more, but we had to like. It wasn't fucking crazy or bad or none of that stuff. It's just we had to tailor, basically tool down how much we would normally shoot, and we'll talk about how that goes.
Yeah.
Here in a bit.
Let's talk about how it all started.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how it started, and just very briefly, it's one of those things where after I went to a Pat Mac class, and I reviewed it here on the channel, he and a bunch of the other guys wanted to go to that Pat Mag class. Our buddy Sunshine was just kind of like, let's fucking go, and he was gonna he got everybody to go, like people that we hang around with a lot. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening was, okay, they went, and I had a choice between taking a class I just took or make money, and so I put classes in instead.
Well, he already had classes up. Maybe.
False.
No?
No. I had to make the choice. That's actually what happened. I had to make the choice between going again or making money. And round about that time, the baby was a-coming, right? Like he was.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. This is around the eclipse.
Yeah. It was almost a year ago when this thing
so,
started, so.
Mm-hmm. So I had to schedule stuff in at that time. So I was just kind of like, nah, I got to make money for this.
Yeah.
Right. So they all went, and we're on the phone, we're talking about it, right? And after talking about that whole thing, everybody decided, okay, well, we should do this more. We should go as a group to stuff more and that kind of thing. So guys started firing off ideas and that kind of stuff. Mm. And our buddy Opie, he brought something up, and we a large portion of us couldn't go. So he came up with a suggestion. He's like, I want to do a Costa class. Let's do vehicle stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he totally does that. Mm-hmm. So he made the suggestion. For one reason or another, I had to get off the phone. It was like a conference call, right? Mm-hmm. So for one reason or another, I had to jump off. I come back in. And by the time I called everybody back, I'd already signed up. I was just kind of like, all right, I'm calling you bitches out. Like, I'm signed up, so you guys need to go.
And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, bro, we just spent this much money, like, to do this class. I'm not even home yet. I'm still in Ohio or some shit.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, do
I'm
it.
sitting there like, yeah, well, fuck you. I didn't do any of that. So.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We speak of, like, not buying food sometimes to buy bullets. Like, just to really iterate what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I used that right, but anyway. I had money saved up to fix my Jeep. And I used that for the Costa class. I bought it like 8 months prior to the class, just to make sure nobody took the spot.
I believe the quote was, fuck that Jeep.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it. It's already been down for months, like, and it was down for over a year. But it was,
yeah, because he broke the fuck out of the front end of that thing.
Yeah, tree stumps, man. Mm-hmm. Like, who the hell leaves a tree stump in the middle of the woods? Fuck. Man. But anyway.
Yeah. But, okay, so I signed up for it, and I was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm on the hook, so you guys need to go. Yep. So before the week was out, he signed up, and then Opie signed up very shortly thereafter, and for a little while we thought it was 3 of us, and then Zach signed up way later on. And initially we were going to bring like AKs and that kind of stuff, but this happened, and we had to pay attention to this. So we just were thinking, okay, we see the bullet count, and just kind of went over. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, like guys that are sitting there like, oh, why does he keep saying bullets? It's to piss you off. Kind of like how I say clipazines intentionally. But point is what we didn't see for Paisley, Florida, was this particular range required frangible ammo, right? It was a EPA-centric thing, and we were just kind of like, well, fuck, that kind of shoots that down. Mm-hmm. So pay attention to the ammo and stuff like that required for different classes and that kind of thing. Because, okay, that shot that idea down, because getting frangible AK ammo is stupid hard. And by hard, I mean expensive as fuck.
Over $1 shot.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not rolling out more 262 prices for 30 caliber AK ammo. It's not happening. Mm-hmm. So we ended up going NATO on it, which is much better. Much better. It's
This is what I picked.
Yeah, some Milsurp stuff.
Good shit.
It's hot, but it runs really good. It prints super accurate. Mm-hmm. And it was like 40 cents a shot?
Yep. $400 for a case of 1,000, so 40 cents a shot.
There you go. That was shipped or not?
Shipped, yeah. Free shipping, yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So 40 cents a shot, and it made it a lot easier for us to handle. So there's that, and 1,000 rounds of pistol as well. So okay, cool. Well, it's already, the cost is already a little more than we thought it was going to be after the initial expense, which is significant, right? Now, once we got there, we're just going to kind of run it by this format. Like, did we accomplish what we'd set out to do? And that was work in vehicles and with each other, because a group of people, obviously, that we were going to go with, we work with each other a lot, right? And we're around each other a lot and that kind of stuff. So did that actually happen? Yeah, we got like 1 billion reps in various different vehicles and various different contact positions. There was a friggin' coop there, which is apparently something that they don't see very often. He said that he hadn't seen a coop in a couple of years.
Yeah, many years.
Yeah, so we clown carred that bastard. Blew up a lot of glass and that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. Now, as far as things that we're individually looking for, as far as stuff that went right for class, for me personally, I'm just going to go ahead and start with the thing that I like the most, and that is he's hilarious. And to me personally, I really, really hate classes that are just kind of like, oh, we're going to do this thing. Cool. And like nobody makes jokes, that kind of thing. It's very stale, and it's one of those things that, like, if you've done it a million times, there's nothing to maintain like a lightheartedness after you do all the business type stuff, right? So he's super funny, and the mood of the class was very serviceable in that. Okay, cool. We could talk back and forth with people, and he's making jokes and all that stuff. So great. I mean, like inside the first hour, because we showed up in a damn Prius, my Prius, for instance. He called us Dirty Mike and the boys because it's a bunch of dudes piling out of a fucking Prius. I was like, yes, it's going to be a great class.
Hilarious.
It
was good.
Yeah, it really was.
Surprised none of you thought of that, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, when we heard it, it was like, how... Never before have I realized that I needed something until I received it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool, the F-Shack is back. So there's that. We got billions of reps in the cars and that kind of stuff. The only not vehicle-oriented stuff that we did, which sounds crazy, but you'd be amazed how many classes that don't stay on point, like they don't stay like inside of the realm of the thing that they're teaching. The only not vehicle-oriented classes that we did were to make sure that we were zeroed with our rifles, and it was like 100, like between pistol and rifle, like a couple hundred rounds total of what's absolutely a bunch of diagnostic drills. And you could tell, like, right away, it's for him to figure out where guys are at, because it's a prerequisite type course, but it's like an open, you could sign up from wherever type avenue, which is fine. So, a little bit of that just to see where everybody was. Like, he didn't come out straight and say it, but we figured it out really fast, because he's sitting there looking at targets and scanning people and that kind of stuff, and it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. That's fine, because he's trying to figure out what he's dealing with. It's a professional mark. And then we went straight into vehicle stuff, and we just pounded it for the rest of the time.
2.5 days.
Yeah. So, as far as just like the formatting of the class, there was a lot of stuff that I did like. Me personally, I really, really enjoyed how flexible it was, because we have our way of doing things and that kind of stuff. And he'll watch you from a distance, and he'll kind of check your bullshit a little bit, to where he'll prod questions. Like he'll be like, "Why are you doing X and Y and Z?" That is slightly different from stuff that either he's seen before or that he individually teaches. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you provide a solid enough answer, he's like, cool, gotcha, go do your thing.
Yeah. Of course, it was safe too. Like, that was the main thing.
Yeah, and he's open to different methods of doing things, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But of course, he's gonna provide a lot of different pathways for guys to get into that is reasonable and safe and all that shit. What?
For me, I had a really great experience. I didn't really have many negatives. We'll get to the negatives in a little bit, but I don't really follow a lot of instructors and all what's going on in the industry or whatever. But Costa is one of the kind of the originators of this movement. Like granddad of the shit. And a lot of people say I fight like him. So I checked out a couple of his videos here and there. I'm like, yeah, we had the same mentality when it comes to fighting, I guess. Fight
like him in that he's a super squirrely individual. Like he's very lithe on his feet, and he scrambles around and that kind of thing. Yeah. It's very similar.
That's just how it wasn't. I didn't copy that from him. It just worked out that way. So it was like, I want to take a class from him, and then I've always wanted to do a vehicle class because we're always in vehicles. Like, makes sense. We have done a little bit of work, me and Chris here, on our own time, which is fun. But it's like, nah, let's go do this thing as a group. Let him, let Chris be a student, which never happens.
Super refreshing.
So it's like, all across the board, I was like, hell yeah, this is just awesome.
It was fantastic to not be like the guy. For once.
Remember, I said that to you. I'm just like,
I was enjoying the shit out of that.
Even though this dude drove from Tennessee all the way to Florida and took the class day one without sleeping. Like, I slept in the back, no problem. And he's just like, I don't have to think about 50 million things. I'm great right now.
Yeah,
and it was great. It was like cool.
Yeah, it's totally different because I went and I picked him up from work, and then and Opie was with me, and we drove straight there.
Yeah.
And we got to the hotel just in time to drop our shit and then go to the range.
We got there at 5 o'clock. Class started at 7, so anyway. Well, so I wanted to shoot through some glass and really just get some data, because you'd be surprised. The rake on a windshield, and looking at an A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, whatever, or this thing is like, wow, that is. He demos some stuff, and you're like, holy shit, that's cover. Like, it's a good amount of cover. It's not just the wheel or the engine block. Like, even the windshield is pretty good. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's like there's a lot of deflection from the windshield. So just learning that right there was worth the money.
And we did cover a little bit of stuff and that kind of thing. And there's only so much that I could be like, hey, when you're inside the car and bullets hit glass, they do X amount of stuff and blah, blah, blah. But I would kind of preface it by like, dude, we're not shooting in here, so I can only say that so much is going to happen. Like, you have to see it for yourself, and it's going to cock an eyebrow. And then he's like, oh, okay. And he does what he does, and he just shows up blank slate, just ready to learn stuff.
Well, student, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'd done some vehicle stuff and that kind of thing before with both armor and without armor and that kind of stuff. But it was fantastic to just be a mute, right? And to just refresh a lot of stuff that we'd done before and that kind of thing, to the point where, there we go. Again, it was super refreshing to me because I could just, listening, So, putting it this way, it's one of those deals where it's like he is very professional in how he lays things out. He knows how to crawl guys into things. His methodology of getting guys to do new things is very good, because he'll walk through it himself. And like when people sit down in a vehicle, he very much advocates, and I do too, if you're going to do stuff like that while you're working around people and that kind of thing, is when you sit down, talk about what exactly you're going to do. Yes. Right? When we get contact, I'm going to do this and you'll do that. Okay, when that starts happening, I'm going to be all like, I'm going to go this way. And obviously there's a little bit of word coding and that kind of thing.
A lot of rehearsal. You got to keep the shit safe.
Yeah, to where it's like, okay, when this starts, I know he's going to go fucking that way after I go this way. And we would sit there and he would advocate and wouldn't rush guys at all on getting in there, sitting there talking. He'd let guys do dry runs even while other guys are doing the shooting part and that kind of thing. He did not give a fuck how slow you went, and that's absolutely fantastic because guys have to get that kind of stuff down. He never really got impatient with anybody, and you shouldn't.
Right. Well,
right.
Let's talk about the structure of how our class was. So it makes more sense to them.
Yes.
Okay, so we had roughly 15 people. We had 3 vehicles, a 2-door truck, like just a regular pickup truck, a Toyota.
A Tacoma.
Yeah, Toyota Tacoma. Yep. We had a 4-door Nissan, like Altima or something.
Yeah.
I worried. Never mind. I don't want to say it. And then we had a 2-door Was it a Monte Carlo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was a Chevy.
Yep. So we split up everybody in the groups, and we stayed those groups for the 2.5 days, which was awesome because after a while you get to just really work and not have to worry about running out in front of somebody or whatever. So, he would set us up on a vehicle. We'd do that part of the structure of the class, and then we go to the next one, and then to the next one. He would demo or talk about whatever he needed to bring up next. Usually we would start with pistol. Actually, we always started with pistol, and then we go to rifle, 2-man and then 4-man, as it all progressed. But we would always start back on that original vehicle for the most part. So what he meant by, other dudes shooting while we're rehearsing, it's not like the dudes in the back were shooting and we're just having a good time.
No, it's like guys on other vehicles.
In a safe, this was almost a 360-degree range.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they had their lane and we had ours.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put that out there because I'm listening to you speak and I'm like, somebody's gonna fucking like.
Yeah, good catch.
They're gonna.
Yeah, for real, good
this.
catch. Because
So,
there's gonna be questions where they're gonna be like,
wait a
"What the
minute.
fuck are you talking about?"
Y'all
Yeah,
rehearsing, so.
Yeah, you're right.
But what's cool is each vehicle, we started off like front contact or contact in the rear, side, whatever. Like it was all structured very well. It just flowed.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell he's done it for a while, so that was a huge plus.
Yep.
If whoever's watching this, if you've taken classes from newer people, a lot of times there's like some hiccups or some like, well, this should have been here type things. This was just fucking smooth across the board,
yep.
which you would expect from a top tier instructor,
yep.
especially for the price tag.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if there's even like a hint of fuckity type stuff going on, how much money you spent going into it will raise itself, and it's one of those deals where it's like, all right, now I'm pissed.
Right. No, it was super good.
None of that was a thing.
No. And so what he would do is kind of float around. He would come up, watch. And same thing, we had our diagnostics in the first half of day one. He would do his diagnostics. If he needed to say something or tighten somebody up, he would. There was not one safety issue at all across the board. Everybody was pretty experienced except one guy. It was his first class.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell, but at the same time, he was really focused on safety because that is the number one thing. Yeah, whatever. It's just going to be that way. There's a little fucking timer down there. We're doing a time-lapse video.
So,
boom.
Yeah, there you go.
So, shit, where was I? Oh, yeah. So, what's cool about it is maybe one group that was working together for a while, if they had to rehearse and say it was a little slower than the other groups, they just ran through it, we would all wait. So nobody got ran over.
Yep.
Nobody.
It wasn't like the way that things were cultured that way too is that like nobody got like, because I've seen this before too, and it really fucking pisses me off. Whether I'm in that group of dudes or I'm not, and I'm observing it and I'm seeing other people get pissy because these guys are taking a little bit longer to do a concept or whatever. The culture never even approached that. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, you guys still on this thing? Oh, we still got a rep. Oh, okay, cool. No, fuck,
yeah,
do it, man. Like, you're fine. And then it's like, all right. And then they just let them go ahead and deal with it, which is great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there were no issues with that whatsoever. Now, as far as just, like, individuals and that kind of thing, as far as like teamwork and that kind of thing, or even individual techniques that were taught, I really enjoyed the fact that, like at first, I'm going to preface it by saying this: when we go someplace to go train, like you do what you should as like a student. I don't care where the fuck you've been. You shut all the way the fuck up. You do what's being asked of you and that kind of thing, even if it's something that you don't particularly agree with, right? Because there were a couple of things where I'm just kind of like, I'm not a fan of that thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's a fan of Temple Index. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Temple Index. But guess what I did? A fuck ton of Temple Index. Right? Because the way I see it and the way that he sees it very, very much as well is master what you like and the thing that makes the most sense to you in your life and be adept at everything else. And this is just part of being adept for me. Right? And there were a couple of runs where, he would point me out and be like, hey man, I see that Temple Index isn't your thing, but you're like, off to, help yourself out. And I was kind of like, nah, you're right. My bad. Freaking, I'll do the fucking thing. Yeah. He's like, yeah, cool. I can tell, you're not a fan of it, but, I respect that. And I was just kind of like, nah, man, I'm just doing the shit.
I'm a student today.
And that's the thing is that like, there are places where Temple Index is good, just as a, for instance, right? As far as techniques and that kind of thing. There are examples where Temple Index is something that I would individually use. So I had to have been there a million times to be adept at it and that kind of thing. So I'm going to do what dude is asking. Like another example is there was a lot of teamwork stuff to do. And with that teamwork stuff, you have to have a certain kind of language that you use to communicate with each other while moving about and that kind of stuff, right? Our method of communicating with teammates and that kind of thing was not what he was using. Right. We're used to a completely different methodology of talking to people and that kind of thing. We didn't use that at all. We used his method of communicating and that kind of thing. And there were some stutter steps in there, yes, because again, it's a different language than what we were used to. I had done that communication type system before. I believe you just had not, right? Okay, so we ended up just kind of adapting from where we were at to this particular communication set, and it went fine. You know, of course, everything went a little bit slower so that we're not running over each other or tripping over each other as far as communicating and stuff like that is concerned. But you know, that's just how it was. And he recognized that we weren't used to that either. You know, so there was a little bit of that mutual respect coming back and forth because he would poke at us and ask, oh, well, why X? Why are you doing X? Why are you doing Y? We'll explain it. And he's like, cool, got it.
Yeah,
and
it makes
just
sense.
fucking...
Cool. Yeah, if it works, it's safe, it works. So just cool, do it.
Another thing, too, and I absolutely love this, right? Because he had talked about, you know, putting guns in the trunk, right? Like rifles and that kind of thing. And everybody else was running like their rifles and stuff in the cab. Well, we travel all over the place and we have a rifle in a seat that somebody can get to, right? It's the front passenger, generally speaking. So the first thing that we asked him was, okay, so we travel in groups all the time. And he's like, that's kind of weird, you know, on a Prius. And we were like, whatever. But
great gas mileage.
yeah, whatever. You know? It takes like $14 to fill the thing up. But point is we asked him, hey, so we got to throw all of our shit in the back. Like that's we want to get a bunch of reps in that way. And the first thing he said was, cool, here's how I'd like you to do it, just so that there's a warm and fuzzy across the board for everybody, and we're good. Fantastic. You know, and we were just kind of like, all right, cool, we got a bunch of reps in that way. For course specifics and that kind of stuff, he had us run the rifles cruiser ready, which, you know, magazine in the well, round out the pipe, you know, so, okay, fine. You'd have to pick it up and charge it and that kind of stuff. No big deal. And of course, we ran through that, but the point is that, like, he wasn't sitting there like, oh, no, I want you to do it the way everybody else is doing it and that kind of thing. It's like, the first thing he had to say to us was, yeah, here's how I'd like you to do it. He said it to everybody in case they were thinking about it. And then after a little while, we've seen a few people skin rifles out of trunks and that kind of stuff.
Give it a shot. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so worked out great. I mean, guys that showed up with duty gear or guys that showed up with concealed carry gear, that kind of stuff, they ran the gambit across the board and gave everybody techniques for doing everything else, right? You know, there was no mall ninja mentality, which I absolutely fucking hate. You know, he's very dude bro, he is, but not in an obnoxious way. And, you know, he would tell a lot of the guys, you know, dude, be realistic about this kind of stuff. If you have an extra magazine, it's going to be in a back pocket. So demos that he did, his spare magazine's in a back pocket, which is great because I teach a lot like that. And it's just something that, you know, because I'd taken classes with him before years ago, and it's great to see that his mentality hasn't shifted. Some guys will rest on their laurels or fall off the fucking deep end, depending on who they are. It's nice to see they didn't change his mentality at all. A little bit of his methodology, and he's evolved a little bit, and how he perceives things and how he looks at certain things. But good, you should. You know, you shouldn't stay stagnant. So I'm super happy with a lot of that stuff. Without talking too much about curriculum, though, let's talk about things that weren't our preferences. Now, I have to say this first. These aren't things that we consider bad, right? We just consider it not our preference for particular things that we see. Oh, and before we do that, we have like a new standard that we kind of judge instructors with now. Because as some of you may or may not have remembered or any of that stuff, right? He's not left-handed and I'm not right-handed. Okay, a lot of you guys know that for sure. I'm a fucking southpaw. For the last 6 months, we've traded, right, as far as hands. So I've been right-handed and he's been left-handed for the last half year. We intend to continue through 12 months. something that he noticed just by watching us roll through reps and that kind of stuff a million times, or switch hands depending on what the situation was, because we decided that we're training, right? And we're not at a point where every shot that we fire a stupid hand, we wish it was that dominant hand anymore. So we'll take advantage of the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the friggin' car, depending on what we've got.
Yeah, angles and shit.
Yeah, angles behind, like A pillars or all 3 pillars or whatever we had. If it was more advantageous to go right side, we'd do that. Well, he noticed that, and he asked him why he was switching so much, right? And of course, he calls me over and is like, "Fuck, we got outed."
Well, yeah, what happened was we got out of the truck. I was in position 1, which is the driver. And when I made it to the rear left of the truck, I switched hands to do something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he came up and said, and Costa said, "Why did you switch hands right there?" Like, not with attitude or anything. Just generally wanted to know.
You could see it from a mile away. You can see when he's got a question mark over his head.
Yeah, that's what he had. And I said, "Hold on one second. We have to finish this drill." So we finished up our what we had to do, and then I called Chris over. And I was like, "Okay, we've been outed." So and we explained it to Costa.
Because our intent was not to tell anybody shit, and we didn't.
This is why I don't want anybody to be like, "Oh, well, that's why you suck," or "Oh, I don't want to."
We didn't want any.
Or I just let me go be a student. I'll take care of my own shit. That's how that happened.
We didn't want any leniency either.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, because when guys figure, you're really fucking, okay, cool,
wait,
and then they back off of,
instructing
the standards that they have for accuracy on you.
That's
it's like, no, that's not how we work.
With that.
So
we're actually gonna talk for the first time about this in depth pretty soon. So we're gonna cut that right there. This can turn into that real quick.
Yeah. So
very long story short. We ended up telling Costa what we were up to, like, and why, and he just nodded his head. It was like, "Okay, cool."
Okay.
All right, cool. And then continue to go watch some other students. So now what we have decided is we're not going to tell an instructor, and if they don't notice like that, they're not. It's a negative.
It's because they're supposed to be paying attention.
If they don't see that we can kind of transition a little bit better than most people, for the most part. That's a blanket statement, but it's kind of true.
And you can usually tell when guys do a lot of that because it's more instinctive, it's more on the fly, it's easier for you to see that flow from one side to the other.
Yeah.
To where it's just kind of like, how much of this have you actually done? And usually, you get that kind of response. So, and what's kind of funny is that he took a level class without me, dick. And, John noticed the same thing too.
Yeah, that was, long story about that. Like, it was the first time I went with an AR on the left side. Because when we first did it, I was still doing my 30 cal AK stuff. So I just dialed that in. And I was like, cool, I'll wing it at the class.
Yep.
And I'm doing some transitions. And he's just like, I came with 2 other guys who shoot with a lot. So you can tell, we were okay as a group. And I just wasn't, you can tell I was kind of like all over the place, kind of trying to dial the shit in. He asked me, and that's when I was just like, okay, cool. Since you asked. And he's just like, let me see you do it strong side. And took care of it, no problem. And he's like, okay, cool. Like, didn't bother me about it at all.
And that was way earlier in your process, too.
That was, that was really early. So it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, just like awkward city on it, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, man, I'm trying to, left eye bullshit, whatever. So anyway, that's when I told Chris, and I was just like, this needs to be a new standard. Like, so we already decided we're not going to tell somebody, but if they don't notice, and then
it's like, he was focused on other things probably, and that kind of thing.
But he noticed, so.
Yep.
So
I mean, and with all of the moving parts, because there's tons of moving parts in this individual class, which is not a negative thing. There's tons of shit going on. It was well orchestrated, but he noticed amidst all of that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to this part, things that we individually were just kind of like, meh. And it's not, again, please do not think of this as, Chris and Josh were talking shit about Chris and that kind of thing. No, it's just stuff that we individually don't prefer. I guess is the word.
We didn't even talk about this part yet, to be honest. I don't even know what you're going to say.
Okay, so
So just
we're just gonna kind of fire it off now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily things that fuck this class, right? But there are things that we noticed that were not that great, or things that we individually disagree with and that kind of stuff. Like for instance, right off the bat, the diagnostics drills. Right, this is my first thing, and then you can go with one of your things. Okay, so in the beginning, after we zeroed our rifles and that kind of stuff, we went through a bunch of little diagnostics drills, and you could tell, right? He's a big proponent of fight, assess, scan, top off, although he uses slightly different verbiage, which is fine, right? The only issue that I had with that wasn't the drills themselves, it was the time allotted for each individual rep. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm in the middle of my scan, right? And he's getting ready to call the next rep, right? And I recognize this isn't a foundational class. I recognize that it is, not a dude's first rifle or pistol class, and I thoroughly recognize that and that kind of thing. Me personally, I would have just liked time to get the rep, right? Because as many reps as I can get on my right side, I personally would have liked, right? Especially since we did have a brand new guy that had never worked with a rifle and pistol before in this class. And granted, he should have taken a rifle and a pistol class before he'd taken this thing before. But at the same time, I would have liked the time to finish that rep, right? Because he was just on the gas pedal trying to get moving. And I understand why it's, that it was one of those things where I was just kind of like, fuck, dude, like, okay, I'm not even holstered up.
Yeah.
So that was a thing that I was just kind of like, But then again, like I said, I can see why he had his foot in the gas pedal for that kind of stuff.
Well, this is actually my first one too, so we'll just keep rolling with it. Since that was the first thing we were doing, like a lot of times we didn't even get a chance to reload or even like do anything. It was just like, and then on to the next thing again. Sometimes it didn't make sense, like because you're shooting, everybody shooting, you got your pro on. That was really fast. So it's like, since that was the very first thing we all did, it came to the point where it's like, is this how the next 2.5 days are gonna be in vehicles? Like it was just like, whoa, like am I going too slow? So it was like, it wasn't a bad thing, but just 5 extra seconds would like clear the whole fucking thing up.
And just as like because some guys watching this might be like, how is this really just move your ass and that guy? Okay, I get it. My thing about this was that when he runs a particular drill that's on a range like that, he teaches guys to follow the target to the ground. So you do a bunch of shooting and your motor skill is to drop it to the ground. I personally don't individually do that. Because me personally, right, I'm still sucked into my sights, and I pull the whole gun out of the way so I can process what happened in front of me. Yeah, it's slower, but I'm also an idiot, right? And different guys have different methodologies of doing that. I'm not even saying that what he taught was wrong. What I'm saying is I'm trying to do the thing that he wants me to do that I'm not used to doing, right? I'm used to being like, boom, 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 fuck, and it's like, okay, if I didn't see him starting to go down and that kind of thing, or if he just ends up not in my sights anymore, I'll drop the gun out of the way. So I'm in the process of trying to do his thing, okay? And as I'm doing his thing, I'll start to break down and then go into, a quick search and assess is what he called it. A search and assess, and then I'll begin to start the top off process. And it's like, oh fuck, next drill. So it was quick. It was a little too fast. I would have liked to finish the rep.
Yeah,
that's me personally.
Same.
Now, granted, like I said, if this was, I would have a much greater problem with this if we were taking set 1 or het 1, like carbine elements theory 1 or 2, or I would have a colossal problem with this, because this is technically not what we're here to do. So I understand why he had his foot on the gas, but it was one of those things where it's like, I can slip that, no big deal, but it's our first encounter with this, right? Because again, I hadn't taken a Costa class in forever now. So okay, no big deal, but it was something I personally didn't agree with all that much.
Mostly annoying. It wasn't like, it was not bad. Yeah. It's probably the worst thing we're gonna say for the most part. Being honest, yeah. Yeah, like that was if because you gotta complain about something. Nothing's perfect. Nope. But that was right off the bat. It's fucking annoying. Yeah. and 5, maybe 6 seconds each one would have really made a difference. Well, I think now that I'm going back on it, he was really focused on the more experienced guys, which I'm not saying we're not, but we were kind of hauled up on our own little thing.
Also, like our search and assess or our scan, it's very thorough and it takes a while. So it takes that's part of it, and it may very easily be this is your process issue, right? It's he has a much quicker way of doing all of that. So it's very easily a process difference type thing. So I mean that's again it's mostly a non-issue because it's like his process versus our process, and you're trying to not mix the two, right? So and this is like the most negative thing we're gonna say. You had a thing, right? Or did you just say that thing?
No, it's your turn next.
Okay, so it's my turn.
Yeah.
The next thing. Now again, I understand the reasoning for this, right? Because it's a rifle and a pistol class, but sometimes it's a pistol class and then a rifle class. For instance, when we did new vehicle positions and that kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, now we're going to deal with, 2 people in a car or 4 people in a car or whatever, right? If we went to a new concept or a new lineup of vehicle positions and that kind of stuff, we would lead off with pistols, right? And what guys would do is that they go off to a quote safety berm. They'd unload and show clear their rifles and lay them down and that kind of thing. Now I could thoroughly understand that part, right? Because if you're not working with rifles and right now you're working on pistols, I could absolutely understand laying that guy over there and it's fine. Like I don't give a shit about that. What I do care about though is at lunch, if guys were going to lunch, he made sure that they had a loaded pistol on them at least, right? Loaded something when they left. However, at the end of the day, right, he had us unload, show clear, and buddy check all of the guns, right? I have a problem philosophically with this, and that's only because it's one of those deals where it's like, okay, if you want us to leave with a loaded gun, I would like to have one loaded, right? Or and how this could be fixed right away is, okay, you unload and show clear the rifles because he knows that you're going to travel with them. But now load your people killing bullets into your pistol and stash those. That kind of thing. And again, it's just a philosophical difference, right? To where at the end of each day, I would rather not, make my rifle not busy. I would rather then load stuff that I would use on dudes instead of plates.
Right. Yeah, we did talk about that a lot. So at first we were confused, like, wait, because at lunch, make sure you got a loaded pistol. We're like, fuck yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah. And then we had to do this weird-ass buddy check system. It's like, okay, cool, yeah. But there wasn't a point where it's like, all right, load your actual mags, like, and get the hell out of here. It was just like, all right, see you tomorrow at 7.
Yeah. And again,
and nobody loaded them, like, oh, cool, like, whatever. It's just like, everybody just really look at each other like, when can we load these? Like,
it was to the point where it's like, okay, now that everybody's like leaving and I'm at the car, I'm just gonna do this really fast and holster it up, and then we're good. Yeah. And like again, 5 seconds of okay, now load your fucking JHPs in your fucking carry pistol and do that kind of thing. And it's a philosophical difference for me personally because I guarantee somebody left that with a carry pistol and a holster minus a loaded magazine,
or if they had fringe in there still. Or whatever. Or,
that's the magazine in their sidecar or whatever is some frangible stuff. There was no point where it's just kind of like, all right, make sure you leave with ammo for dudes, not for steel plates. Yeah. I can understand it to a point, but it's only because I have a massive amount of institutional poisoning from like the Army and that kind of stuff. Philosophically, I disagree. That's all I'm really going to say, is that, like, it's not like a knock. It's not like one of those things where it's like, fuck this guy, I'm not taking this class. Again, it's a philosophical difference. Yeah. Yeah, that's like, my main thing.
What else? I know there was something. It wasn't really that bad. It was like, could have been cooler.
I had it, but I kind of lost it in the middle of talking about it.
Well, it kind of just happened to me, but we were talking about, like, what if the door, somebody shoots the lock and the door won't open? and we talked about it as a class, and then the next group that went, like the guy couldn't get the door open. It just worked out that we were like, did you do that on purpose? I'm small and I can get around anything really, so I was just jumping out of windows with it's like, oh shit, can't get the door open. And it wasn't really. He didn't tell me I couldn't do that, but it was just like, nah, man, like kind of open the door, like do it that way. And I sliced my arm pretty good, and I didn't say anybody. I didn't want to have to get set out because of medical or some dumb shit. But like, I can see why he'd be like, no, I'll use the door. Everybody jumping out and spraying their wrist or something. But it's like, I wanted to do that more because that's if I had to, it's like, cool, I know how to do it. But
and again, this is a slight philosophical difference and that kind of thing. To me, again, it's one of those deals where it's like, look, we're shooting at stuff out of cars. Forget the motivations, because that's the reason why we're here in the first place, and the motivations justify doing it in the first place. What we're doing is kind of stupid, right? If you really think about it, it's like we're trading bullets with fools, and we're stuck in a car, and we're trying to get out of the car, right? This is already like way past like retardo land, right? Because fuck, dude, this is already a really shitty thing that's happening. An extra level of retarded could easily happen. Okay, you may have to dive your ass out of that window. I did a couple of times where the door handle for the inside straight up didn't work. You had to open it from the outside, but in the middle of the thing, I didn't know that, so I flung my ass out the window.
Damn.
You know, it's like, fuck, holster up, you just fling your ass out the window, and then you go through the thing. I really would, since we're already in like retardo land here, something that I've been told and told people a lot is, if you're going to do some retarded shit, you might as well do it as safe as possible, right? And he talked about, if your door doesn't open, you can start coming out, through someone else's door. Or you may have to go through a window, like he said that, right? So I would have liked a demo on both. And we didn't get those.
No.
Right. So instead of just flinging my ass out a window, because he's a squirrely dude too, and face it, he's getting older and that kind of thing, so he's got to be more careful of his body. I had a demo and he had like a new way of getting himself flung out this thing without hurting himself more, like just like twinging body parts and that kind of thing. I kind of need that too, because I got broke body parts also. So if there was a demo for both, that would have been great. Because both of us ended up having to do both of those things, coming out of someone else's door, and we had to fling our asses out of windows more than once. Yeah. Because just throughout the course, someone would sail around through the door and it would like bend stuff just right. Or
that's what happened to me. But whatever, no big deal.
Yeah, or a door handle would quit working for litany of reasons. Yeah. Right. I would have liked a demo for both of those things.
I remember the thing. Yeah. So this part of it I originally didn't even think about. I'm pretty sure Zach brought it up, and then we all talked about it. This whole course was like kind of a team vehicle thing.
Oh, yes.
Two or four. Mm-hmm. And I understand for time constraints and all that good stuff, what we, and I'm glad I remembered this, what we felt that is actually a negative more than the zeroing time thing we were talking about. That's right. This is the one negative right here. We never spoke of single operations in a vehicle, like yourself as a driver. Not even spoke of it. Like, okay, give me for instance, a scenario, and then what would I do? What should I do? It was always two people, or always four. So it wasn't like, hey, I need to show you guys this. We could have just been like, oh, if I was by myself, ... And we'd all been like, cool, fucking get it. You know what I mean? Because it's different when you're driving and your passenger starts shooting through the windshield. So you could get out, or you can get your gun out and cover them, or however that was set up. I don't want to give too much of it away. But it's like, fuck, what do I do if I'm by myself? Like, do I just start shooting now, or do we pop the belt, go out the window, duck? Like, I don't know. So I feel like we all felt collectively that was very lacking, because the course is just vehicle elements theory. And I drive by myself 95% of the time. I'm usually his passenger. So a lot of the times when we would go as two-man, I would be position 2 or front passenger.
Yeah, like the first one that we would do. Yeah, it's like we're sitting just like this. I'm driving, he's right there, and we
just like we always do. And I had my little 10-5.
See, and that's the thing, is that like it does say it in the course curriculum when you look at it on the website. This is like a team thing, right?
Yeah, could have spoke of it.
granted, though, this is vehicle elements theory, not Vet 2 or whatever. It's like, this is it. This is the thing.
It's the one class.
So individual stuff, I think, would have been really valuable. Now, having taken vehicle stuff before, in our little conversation about the whole thing, because it's us two, Opie and Zach, and we're sitting there talking about it as a group. It's like, all right, well, me speaking as a guy that's done this stuff before, it's like, look, this is what you really end up doing, right? To where it's just kind of like, it's a lot of the stuff that we'd already learned, but like faster paced and more panicky. Really?
Fuck yeah.
It sucks ass, like all of it,
But
because
it's
anything
still great,
that you
though.
can handle with a team is worse with one person. But I've done it before. They have not. Right? So they didn't have the answer.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And that's like the only real negative that we have is that like if it's a vehicle elements course, I would like one guy stuff.
Yeah, well, or at the same time, what if your passenger isn't carrying? Because most of the time they're not. If it's not your gun buddy or your wife or girlfriend or whatever.
And you could very easily.
You got the gun and you're the driver. Like I need to know this.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the one negative. Like,
yep. Now, granted, there's a billion other people that do this and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That do this type of class, and he mentioned it too. He's like, "There's a bunch of other people that you should go to for this kind of class," and blah blah blah. I've got my program; they've got their programs. Mm-hmm. He never professed for 1 second to be like the one guy that knows all of what to do in this and that kind of thing. But it's something that we would have rather had, right? Because instead of like fuck tons of 4-guy stuff, which it is actually possible for us because we travel places as a group of 4 a lot. Mm-hmm. But not a lot of motherfuckers are doing that. Mm-hmm. How rare is it that there's 4 people traveling someplace with 4 people that know gun stuff, that actually train and have worked together in teams before?
Yeah.
Rare.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's really, really rare, right? So if it ended up like teams of 2 or 1 the whole time, honestly, it would have been slower, right? But you see where we're getting at here?
Yeah.
Granted, again, it's not like it was a bad experience. It's just we would have at least liked some kind of one-man type stuff.
It didn't really... He could have just demoed and talked about it, and we could have moved on. It would have been like, oh, fuck, I could just do that in my driveway, like practice that or whatever.
Yeah.
Without the gun part, maybe.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I guess that's it. So, if 4 people had talked about this, because we did our AAR at the hotel each day. We talked about that day, and then the next day at the end we talk about that and kind of go all like that. So we've discussed this to the point where it's boring to talk about now. But if that's the one negative, that's pretty fucking awesome. Like huge. I'm super impressed by everything that happened. Yeah,
and everything else that we covered before that is all that it really is. It's a philosophical difference.
Yeah.
So depending on personal preference or stuff that you've done before and that kind of thing, it could be an absolute nothing burger. It stuck out to us because, we have a particular method of doing things and blah, blah, blah. But they're not even really, like me personally, there are a lot of guys where it's like, if it's slightly different from the stuff that you do, it's a negative, right? Like if a dude teaches Temple Index, they're pissed. I don't even really like Temple Index, me individually. I'm not a huge fan. There are very few applications that I could see myself doing that. Right? But you have to understand, different motherfuckers are teaching different techniques. You might as well be adept at like everything else and have mastered the things that you like. Right? So again, if it's a philosophical difference, I don't get upset about that kind of thing.
Right.
Was there a lack of content? No. Fuck dude. Like we got so many goddamn reps, it was to the point where right before it got boring, we switched things up. Which, by the way, that's a plus.
Yeah, it's huge. It works, yeah.
Right before it got boring and got too played out, things got changed up. Mm-hmm. So I'm totally down like a clown for that. Mm-hmm. Was the content itself thoroughly explained and that kind of thing? Yes, absolutely. The rehearsals that we went through, where we allotted enough time to sit there and talk about it and then dry practice it and then do it live fire as we had rehearsed it so that guys don't get fucking shot.
Well, before and after you would ask if anybody had any questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, anybody got questions? Okay, cool. It was like, anybody got any questions? Like, is everyone solid? And really just made sure we're all there. And if he's seen somebody kind of like, like, what's up? You know what I mean? So like that was a huge plus. Very attentive to his students.
And the only time, the only time where he was just kind of like, any questions? Moving on. It was actually during those diagnostic drills, which.
Yeah, we're not counting that part and the vehicle side. So
I get that because this is not supposed to be your first time in a rifle class.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's like, unless someone had a really obvious question, it was just kind of like, let's move on to the thing we wanted to get here to do, or that we came out here to do. I get that too, right? So again, I don't really give a shit. But yeah, I mean, even in the middle of the drills and stuff, where like we had a group of 4, and then we had a guy added to us.
Yeah, we adopted somebody there.
Yeah, it was easy enough to where he could, be easily brought in. Culture of dudes that you work with, I think, is really important, and that standard is set by the guy, right? That's set by Chris. Mm-hmm. And we brought him into our little fold of 4 dudes, and he had no problems. Every time he sat down in a vehicle, he was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna talk about this again because I like talking." We're like, "The fuck, dude? Yeah, absolutely. I don't like getting shot." Yeah. So we talked about it, and it was fine. And even in the middle of drills, like one of us would have to sit out per drill, right? 1 to 3 of us, because it's either 2 or 4 man. And in the middle of it, Chris would come by and be all like, "Hey, tell your guys blah 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 blah," because I noticed X and Y. And then he'd go off to go talk to somebody else because he knew that he knew that I was a trainer and that we worked together. And he was like, "Yeah, it's obvious you guys work together a lot." So he would give us a group note. But then I would watch him go to other people that are not used to working to each other, and he would wait until motherfuckers get out of cars to talk to them, which is good. Yeah. Or if he'd catch all of us at the end of a thing while we're waiting on another car or something, he would bring us in and he would be like, "All right, well, what'd you think about blah, blah, blah?" And he would go over our little process, try to poke holes in it, and if he could, great, which he wasn't able to very often because we were attentive to like everything he had to say, and again, we're trying to be good students too. And if he couldn't poke holes in our methods, he'd be like, "Sweet," and he'd back off. And it's not like he's trying to be a dick about it either. It's like, is your process effective for you all? It's stuff like that. And it's one of those things where it's like he asks very deliberate questions of people to where it's like, if we can get done what he wants to get done, no fucks.
Yeah.
And he just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
So that's about as in-depth as I think we can cover it, really.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Yeah.
It was, before it got too repetitive, things changed up.
Yeah.
He's, as always, he's a delight to be around and to train with and that kind of thing. And for once, I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a personal thing. It's one of those things. I was still keyed up to Chris responding to that all the time. I was like, "Hey, Chris, what do you think about..." "Oh, yes, he's not that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just me and I'm over here."
Yep. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Dirty Mike and the boys are over there with big mags.
See, the funny thing is that the footage that you guys see, that wasn't mine either.
No, we had a strict camera policy.
Mm-hmm. It was actually somebody else filming for Full Spectrum Warrior. Rich Graham.
Yeah, Rich Graham. And,
he was the host.
Yep. And then Michael Billings.
Yeah.
If check him out on Instagram.
Yeah,
Billings to Bullets.
Yeah, Billings to
like
Bullets.
Yeah,
Same thing for Full Spectrum Warrior.
Yeah. Cool guys.
Yeah, they were sitting there filming and that kind of stuff. That's where you got the demo with us two, Chris and Rich.
Yeah. Probably put it in this unless you're gonna post it.
Oh, it's going up before everything,
cool.
So they'll have seen this way before.
Okay.
It's all good stuff, man. Like it's.
Yeah, the no camera policy made a lot of sense. It's like people want to run 200 miles an hour, as he always says, and that's when they get stupid and unsafe. Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah, let's just do this. And then the guy will come around and you take pictures or whatever for their stuff. Mm-hmm. And then
there was a scar that was just camera shy as fuck. Man.
Yeah.
Like every time he did this to the scar, we just stop working for no reason.
Yeah. But
okay, whatever.
Michael got a few videos of us and pictures, so we were happy. We were like, "Hey,
yeah,
fuck
well,
yeah,
sure,
dude, yeah,
okay.
cool." Because
go
ahead.
No, okay.
Well, I was like, cool. I should do a whole montage leading up to this with my GoPro, and because we do this kind of stuff with film and shooting. Like, it doesn't affect us that way, and like I can post it on my own personal channel. Mm-hmm. But then it was like, no, I'm like, fuck, man, I'm never gonna get a good video. So either way, It was cool though.
There was even a compliment that he gave to us too. He's like, yo, I can tell you guys, like, Mike, he was like, yo, I can tell you guys have been doing this for that kind of thing. Because there was a little bit of like of a movement issue. Like he wasn't expecting a particular movement from Opie.
Yeah.
And he was off to his right hand side, like this far. And Opie's getting ready to move, and he's like, let me get by. All right, thanks. You know, he's sitting there like, I thought I was about to get clobbered.
Yeah.
And he gave us a compliment and about, you know, us being aware and that kind of thing. And I was kind of like, yo, if there's a group of people that are used to having cameras around, you found the guys.
Yeah.
You know.
And we always scan and look around and shit. Cause
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and
your radar.
And as far as like small unit tactics and that kind of stuff, like you have to look where you're going before you go places. And we're thoroughly used to that at this point. Just as like a little group of dudes that go out and do this kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
It was, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, super worth it.
Yes.
Like,
it absolutely helped sharpen up the axe and that kind of thing. I hadn't done soft skin vehicle stuff in some time now. And I said it in the student intro, I was like, far back enough to where it's not relevant anymore.
Mm.
You know, and that's really how you should do this, really. If it's been a year plus since you've taken your last class, that shit ain't relevant anymore. It's not.
Mm-mm.
You know, you should be constantly evolving. You should constantly be checking your own bullshit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
So, it is what it is. I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, no, I was coming up with something halfway through and forgot because it's been fucking
An hour and 5 minutes.
Oh my god. Oh. Do not rock a Lantac Dragon on your fucking short AR in a fucking car with glass still in it.
You're
Please.
a dick if you do that.
Jesus Christ.
You're a dick if you do that.
It was literally snowing glass. And I'm just like, I had ear pro on. I'm just holding all this together like, let it stop! Ah!
Realism,
Instant
bro.
headache. Instant headache. No Lantac Dragons.
I've seen this, by the way, on the internet, because I guess we're in a shit talking.
Fuck yeah, man. God damn it, Zach. Oh.
I've seen this. I've seen this on the internet from guys that have put this on the YouTubes and that kind of stuff before, where dudes all like, oh, well, just so you know, a 10.5 is even too long for a car. You're retarded.
No, it was perfect.
It was
what do you got?
the perfect size.
Yeah.
Okay? It was the absolute perfect size. Anytime that we had to do anything, it was one of those deals where it's like, bro, learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Okay? And then get up here. Because I could go on the inside of the steering wheel if I really needed to.
Yeah.
And then punch out. There were times where it was, in fact, easier. Where it's on, like, my left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of thing. Where I'm bringing it up and over the fucking steering wheel and that kind of stuff. And then, like, doing things and that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, well, I can bring it over the top and that kind of stuff. But, like, dude, like... A 10.5 is perfect. What's wrong with you?
Absolutely.
You know, now if you go into like do regular carbine length where it's like 14.5 or 16, okay, we're doing even more of this, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, get over yourself.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about our transition that we've done. How awesome it was in a vehicle.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
I was just rocking a little flash hider, and you have the.
I have the PWS.
Yep. And that's a comp, so that really wasn't that bad.
It's like a comp hider. It's a little. It's like a hybrid device.
It wasn't too bad.
That actually does both jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did great, and I guess you have like, if we're gonna get, military clone fag about it, it's like you're a Block 2, right? And I'm the mod 0 and that kind of shit with the FSB and that kind of thing. Oh my god.
I just made something that works for me.
Getting all clone correct and going to class.
Hell no.
But
we do need some cans though.
Oh shit. Well, we're gonna do that. But point is though, is that like a 10.5 was fucking perfect. I had no issues at all fucking about with a short rifle like that. And there are some guys out there that are like, oh, you need a 7-inch and blah. So what you really want is like the least reliable rifle to stick in your car that if you need it, you really need it.
Because that's when you're gonna fucking use it.
I'm good, bro.
Yeah, no.
I'm 110% good.
10.5 that's the minimum.
With like the 40 of intermediate rifle cartridges, it's a high pressure round, guys. Sorry. No, I'm not doing that.
Mm-mm.
Not doing any of that. Especially since, dude, concussion's already gonna suck. It doesn't,
Jesus, yeah.
It doesn't matter what you got. It's already gonna be bad. So what you want is like the worst overpressured, a pistol length gas system. I'm alright. I'm 110% alright. You're also abusing the fuck out of your parts, okay? Because I had a Toolcraft bolt and carrier group that I was running in a carbine length system, and my students were abusing the shit out of that rifle. I stuck it in this 10.5, and it got run through the class, and that was hot ammo you're shooting.
Yeah, it was.
It's hot.
Good stuff.
Yeah, because with Wolf and stuff, I'm getting ejection this way, like fucking here-ish. We're zeroing our rifles, and I first noticed exactly how hot this ammo was because it's ejecting like there. Okay, it was hot.
It was crazy.
It was pretty hot, and I shot the shit out of it. And you guys saw the rate at which I shot some of this stuff, and then I do about 500 rounds worth of demos, and now this bolt is on a carbine length gas system, for instance, running heavy volume, okay, under higher rates of fire, under short time frames, right? Like 2 to 4 days, it's got 2,400 rounds through it, through a bunch of students with a longer barrel, and then it goes to this one, and you guys know I break shit all the time.
You do?
Yeah. By the way, I actually ran a good count, because we were rounding and that kind of stuff on what was going on with this bolt, right? I ended up getting 18,000 through it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I ended up adding classes.
Yeah, because you told me like 11, 12. I'm like,
Nah.
nah, bro, that's just a piece of crap.
Nah, I actually ended up
18
better. No, I actually ended up remembering several classes that I went through where it was used by students for like the class.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
And after I had used it, it was like 18,000, around about 500, and this is not including little shoots I've done here and there and that kind of thing. But even still, under 18.5, I snapped a bolt right at the cam pin hole, right? Which that sounds real suspect until you understand the life of what the life of this bolt, what it had to deal with, and that kind of thing. Guys that have trained their asses off is like, it's okay, cool.
I mean, 18K. Let's be honest, most people won't see that in one rifle in their life.
No,
and that's not even a diss. Like,
and to be honest, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, either the cam pin hole is gonna go or lug 1 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, my barrel went at 18, so my bolt's around 18.5 right now, so that's a good comparison.
Yeah, something was gonna fucking break.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I broke it, threw a new bolt in there. I don't give a fuck anymore, right? It doesn't matter. So, here's what it is. But yeah, man,
I went pretty good. This is my little. Unless are you still talking about yours?
I'm not talking about mine.
Okay, I was like, might as well just bring this up if we're gonna do these type of things. Like, what we take and why?
Yeah, true.
Here's my little SBR. I just painted it. I changed out the handguard before because I wanted to. I was using it as a good excuse. I got the BCM 10-inch rail, M-lock. I got tiny little fat, like short hands, and it works perfect. The AFG2. Absolutely love this combo. He doesn't, but he's Chris. I absolutely love this combo.
It feels like there's so much air floating in
for
here.
you.
Well, I know
God,
for me. That's for me. That's my opinion. It feels like there's a gap in here, right on these knuckles right here.
Don't have weird hands. Can I get through this?
No. Now go ahead.
So as you can see, it's set up for left hand, and I actually can still, when I transition, go to right hand or whatever. But I didn't change the light or anything. It just changed the rail, and I had a little Magpul little shorty thing. It got fucking caught on everything. We ran through some practice with the Jeep so he can kind of get me up to speed on how to deal with seatbelts before this class.
Yeah, so that we didn't like concuss each other.
Yeah,
go head to head real fast in a car, and so that we didn't get all like fuck on seatbelts.
Yeah. So, and if you have a Jeep, you don't really give a shit about. Yeah, it's a great vehicle to shoot out of. So that was getting stuck on everything. It's like, nope, gotta go. And we're actually gonna go get some cans soon. Like, that's in the works. When the government starts back up, the fucking NFA. So yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get a couple of war comps. The open time war comps.
Yeah, so it's just like this, but suppressor ready.
And I forget the model suppressor we were gonna do.
RC2.
Okay.
That's pretty standard amongst short AR guys. Like I've did like 5 seconds of research. That's what everybody uses. But yeah,
it's fantastic because I'm so glad I'm shooting right-handed for the moment because it's like yes.
Yeah. Well, by the time our
suppressor right-handed, I'm down.
Well, by the time the cans come back, I can go back to right.
That's true.
I'm
not sure if I'll go back to left-handed on a lot of things.
We'll save that.
Yeah, we'll get to that discussion.
And this, I'll finish up my part of it because I'm not a gear fag, but I do like stuff that works for me. I bought a whole like left-handed rig for this, like not for the class. I'm saying for this endeavor, and it was pricey. And it's gonna stay my left-handed rig, and when I can go back to right, I'm gonna mimic the same shit. So
that's kind of a teaser onto the discussion that we're going to do on this. That's going to be a live stream, by the way. We're starting to get discriminant on what we use with what hand now. And I will leave it right at that.
Perfect. Good deal. All right.
So that's all I got on this.
If you made it an hour 15 minutes, fuck man, get a life. Jesus Christ.
Well, no, it'll be less than this.
If you went over an hour, man, you better have a good excuse.
They're still running up on like an hour. I mean, dudes take long poops, man.
Yeah.
Dudes take long poops, or a lot of guys drive for a living.
True.
Those are most of the people.
Just talking shit.
Those are most of the people that make it through these videos.
Oh, dude, I listen to Joe Rogan every day. It's like 3 fucking hours. It's because I'm doing something at work and I can get away with it.
Yeah,
I'm just talking shit.
Yeah, so are guys that do mindless, repetitive tasks.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
that's literally.
I get it.
Which I can't wait to tell them how that affected my job. Yeah. Transitioning to the dumb side. Man, yeah, we need to get that going.
It's so hard to not talk about it because I love the entire concept, but we have to. Yeah. We can't.
We're just gonna keep talking about it, but not actually saying anything. So, anyways, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep, we're done here. So, is what it is, guys.
Yeah, great class. Totally worth it.
Yep.
The frangible thing was a range restriction, so just make sure you read it. So you shoot your regular steel crap because.
But we did take advantage of it a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Towards the end, they ended up putting plates like this close.
Yeah. No, I mean, we took advantage of it, but it's like we talked about frangible quite a bit. That wasn't a Costa requirement; that was a range requirement.
Yes.
So even though that shit was a bit pricey compared to some toolless steel, like it's so worth it. So I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would call out of work again in a heartbeat.
Which you totally did.
Don't let my boss see this. All right.
But all right, guys. Now that he's like straight up left, just remember, regular guy's firearm is last defense against tyranny. Be easy.